In 2024, a quiet laboratory in Bangalore began growing protein crystals. They weren't being made for analysis on Earth. They were being built for orbital manufacturing. The question isn't whether we can make medicine in space. It's why India is positioning to own the supply chain before the West realizes the regulatory loophole. This isn't about Mars colonies or tourism. The real space race is happening in the patent cliffs of the pharmaceutical industry. India isn't just exploring orbit, it is industrializing it to bypass terrestrial monopolies and capture a $400 billion biologics market. Here is how a regulatory arbitrage strategy turns microgravity into the ultimate competitive advantage. In a Bangalore lab in 2024, scientists grew protein crystals with one destination: orbit. Not for study. For production. This wasn't academic curiosity. It was the first run of a space-based factory. Microgravity lets proteins form purer, more uniform crystals, impossible to replicate on Earth. That purity translates directly to better drugs. Fewer side effects. Longer shelf life. ISRO's low launch costs turned this from a science experiment into a supply chain play. The goal isn't just to make medicine in space. It's to own the biologics manufacturing edge before the West notices the gap. And the gap? It's wide open. On Earth, gravity distorts protein crystals as they form. Heavier particles sink, creating convection currents that disrupt orderly growth. The result? Irregular, flawed structures useless for drug design. In microgravity, those forces vanish. Proteins assemble slowly, symmetrically, without interference. Crystals grow larger, purer, with near-perfect lattice alignment. This isn't theoretical, it's been demonstrated on the ISS with insulin, antibodies, and viral enzymes. Better crystals mean clearer atomic maps. Clearer maps mean more effective biologics. And more effective biologics mean longer patents, fewer side effects, and higher value. That's the real edge India is building, not just to make medicine in space, but to make it better than Earth ever could. Science gets you to orbit. Economics keeps you there. For years, the math didn't add up. Sending a kilogram to space on Western rockets? $60,000. That's not a budget line, it's a deal breaker. ISRO changed that. Their launches now cost roughly $10,000 per kilogram. Not aspirational. Not projected. Measured. That 6-to-1 gap isn't just savings, it's a phase shift. Suddenly, flying a bioreactor isn't a gamble. It's a calculation. And at that price, the returns start to look real. This cost advantage isn't a footnote. It's the foundation. Without it, orbital manufacturing stays a curiosity. With it, India doesn't just participate, it redefines who gets to build in space. India doesn't need to build a pharma industry from zero. It already runs one worth $100 billion. Generic drugs? They supply half the world. Vaccines? They've scaled production faster than anyone. Their CROs run trials for global pharma at a fraction of the cost, and with precision that wins FDA approvals. This isn't hope. It's infrastructure. The same labs, the same engineers, the same regulatory rigor that keeps Earth's medicine flowing, now they're being pointed upward. Not because they're bored, but because orbit offers something Earth can't: perfect crystals, pure proteins, and a way to make biologics that bypass the patent walls on the ground. Here lies the contrarian angle. The strategy isn't just about better drugs, it is about legal loopholes. Current patent laws are designed for Earth-based production. Manufacturing a drug in orbit creates a unique jurisdictional gray area. By producing biologics in space, companies could potentially sidestep the patent extension tactics used by FDA and EMA incumbents. It creates a new intellectual property zone where the rules are still being written. This allows India to capture value before Western regulators can close the gap. It is a legal maneuver as much as a scientific one. Does the math actually work? Let's look at the numbers. The cost to launch a specialized bioreactor to the International Space Station or a private orbital platform is high, but not prohibitive at ISRO's rates. Compare that to the value of the output. High-purity crystals for top-tier biologics can command prices in the millions per kilogram. The break-even point is reached with a fraction of the yield needed to cover terrestrial R&D costs. When you factor in the premium for superior purity, the profit margin becomes undeniable. This isn't a subsidy play. It is a direct path to profitability. NASA outsources station access to SpaceX and Blue Origin. ESA runs microgravity experiments, but none are scaled for drug production. Why? Because their models still assume space is for science, not supply chains. India sees it differently. ISRO's low-cost launches aren't just about reaching orbit, they're about making it routine enough to run a factory. While Western agencies debate liability and astronaut time, ISRO is quietly building the infrastructure to turn protein crystallization into a repeatable orbital process. The real advantage isn't technology, it's treating space like a manufacturing floor, not a lab. And that shift? It's happening in silence, while the West waits for permission to begin. Imagine a vial of medicine labeled made in low Earth orbit. Not a sci-fi prop. A real product. Grown in microgravity where proteins fold perfectly, without Earth's gravitational noise. ISRO's low-cost launch slots let Indian biotech firms send up crystallization experiments for a fraction of what NASA or ESA charges. The crystals return purer, more stable, ideal for high-value biologics like monoclonal antibodies. Patent the process in Bangalore under Indian IP law. Manufacture the drug in orbit using private Indian-built modules docked to the ISS or a future Bharatiya station. Sell the final product globally, bypassing traditional terrestrial manufacturing bottlenecks and legacy patent thickets. This isn't about reaching Mars. It's about owning the next generation of drugs, where the lab is weightless, the IP is Indian, and the market is global. If you're fascinated by how emerging tech reshapes global industries, subscribe for more deep dives where strategy meets science. Because the future isn't just predicted, it's engineered in places you're not looking.